friends, welcome back to the Messed Up Movies Podcast, the movie that celebrates filmmakers and films that embrace the unhinged, the insane, the outrageous, the off-kilter, and the all-around kind of messed up fun you can't take your eyes off of. I'm your host, Griffey, joined as always by my friend, co-host, and guy who likes to carry his own head around to do crimes.
Oh, that's me, Alex Dandino.
That's
Friends,
Alex Dandino.
Let me ask you, do you have a serum that takes you there? Well, let me show you something. The Messed Up Movies Podcast, that's us. But more importantly, the Messed Up Movies Patreon. For $1 a month, you can give yourself a little bit of that sweet injection of exclusive pods, exclusive stuff like our Discord, and lots of friends from your pals Dandino and Griffey. Also,
Black Mirror miniseries.
Also, if you like social media, which you should not inject into your veins,
Yeah.
as we have found.
I think we found
we're
we
all
need
over
less
that.
of that.
However, what you don't need less of is Messed Up Movies and Misfit Parade social medias. I know you like it. This is that's a good injection. That's a solid injection of social media right there.
We're a classic
That's just
palate
enough.
cleanser. That's all
That's
we are.
just enough. Otherwise, you don't need the rest of it.
We're like the moment, is that Bergamot I'm getting, Chef? Bergamot? Yeah, Misfit Parade on YouTube, misfitparade.com.
You just did the menu with
I just did the menu with our dear friends over at Junk Food Cinema.
Salisbury, yeah.
This episode will probably air a month after that, so you can definitely go find that.
Definitely go and check that out.
Love Junk Food Cinema, love the menu.
We all do.
Yeah, guys, misfitparade.com. Keep track as we continue to make Mr. Cream Jeans Hidey Hole our first feature film. That's a great way, misfitparade.com. Go to the Misfit Parade YouTube, all the social media, 5-star ratings, reviews. I forgot what I'm even talking about because my mind is just playing scenes from Re-Animator over and over and over. I fucking love this movie. Having done over 600 films for this show, Alex, I am stunned. We have never gotten to Re-Animator.
We have always brushed with it, and we always planned on it, probably 2 Halloweens in a row. 2 Mega Marathons in a row. We assumed we were going to do it. Always got superseded by a different franchise. Which is fine. It's fine. We can save it for the Messed Up Movies Podcast. Makes total sense.
That's right. Alex, would you like to hit us with the opening information, the synopsis, the key players of Re-Animator?
Of course. Oh, absolutely. Re-Animator, or better known as H.P. Lovecraft's Animator, is based on a 1922 short novelette he wrote called Herbert West Re-Animator. It's directed by the prolific Stuart Gordon.
Fucking love.
The film stars the upwards of one of the greatest, I think, horror actors of a generation. Jeffrey Combs as Herbert West, a medical student who has invented a reagent which can reanimate deceased bodies. All sorts of hijinks ensue. Of course, the classic Barbara Crampton finds her way onto the screen for this one as well as many of our other favorite gags. Let's see. I will say, so this was originally, Stuart Gordon thought this was going to be a stage play and originally adapted it as such.
Really?
Originally thought it should be a stage play, and then he eventually decided he would try to turn it into a half-hour television pilot. And it wasn't until he met Brian Usna, who is the producer, that Brian said, "Dude, this is a movie.
This is a movie." Wow, this is 85 too. You would imagine that the movie bug was already around.
Oh, the movie bug I'm sure was around. I think
for this kind of a movie. I was saying there was a horror explosion in the 80s.
But again, everybody can. I've seen some amazing stagecraft in the last few years. Particularly, I'll say this: that high school in New Jersey that put on Alien as a stage play, which was the coolest thing I've ever seen.
Brilliant, A+s around.
But we're here to talk about Re-Animator, which was supposed to be a stage play and instead became an awesome movie. 1985, by the way.
It's so frenzied and chaotic. It's almost impossible to imagine doing this as a stage play. But weirdly, I can imagine it and would love to be in the theater for this. This was one of those movies that as you went through Blockbuster had the incredible VHS cover. You knew you had to see it. You had mentioned seeing a lot of good stagecraft in your life. I feel like something we haven't seen a ton of is great Lovecraft in our life. I was thinking about this. I think Re-Animator is easily the greatest Lovecraftian film we've ever gotten. I think now we're starting to see, well, Richard Stanley, before he got, he did some witchcraft on his own future, it seems. It felt like we were going to start doing some of that, right? With Color Out of Space, he was on his way to the Dunwich Horror. We were going to start getting this like Lovecraftian universe. It seems like something that we should have had more of, right? Lovecraft is easily one of the most influential characters in horror history. He's definitely the guy. It's like everyone just associates it with tentacles. And I think you could argue that the truest continuation of his legacy to me is Hellboy. Like I think Mike Mignola did a great job of kind of like honoring that. But in movies, there's not a ton of great I mean, I think you would argue it's this and The Mist are the greatest Lovecraftian movies we have.
I think what's interesting about Lovecraft is he sort of falls in the same category as Edgar Rice Burroughs. Is when people say like, oh, something is Lovecraftian, or you try to directly adapt a Lovecraft story. This happens with Edgar Rice Burroughs stuff too. Is people are like, oh, it's so derivative. I'm like, no, this is the thing it derives from. You're using the word incorrectly. So like when you see that there's going to be an H.P. Lovecraft, like a couple of times this has happened with Edgar Rice Burroughs stuff, like John Carter, that movie, that huge movie that was a huge bust, like a famous bomb now, came out. People, the big criticism, like John Carter's very derivative of a lot of other superhero movies. Like, no, John Carter is the derision, which by other stories
he's
come
the
from.
one that everyone took. Also, like that and Tarzan just aren't. They haven't translated to the modern era the way
as well.
Lovecraft
I
has.
think Lovecraft direct adaptations of Lovecraft things I think are very complicated because so much has been borrowed to the culture from Lovecraft that everything just sort of seems Lovecraft at this point. So making a direct adaptation like Del Toro for 4 years was trying to make from the Mountains of Madness.
Yeah.
And couldn't get it off the ground.
The thing he did that was so beautiful that lets it be somewhat ageless is it's almost like a cheat. Like you wonder was he actually that good of a writer? Because every time they see a horror that is indescribable in words and it's like, well, it feels like you should try to describe it a little bit. Like that was like one of his classic tricks. And it is because it's led to this like extrapolation. And now there's so much built in backwards that we feel like we know everything, right? He gave us enough. And then the mythology is just extrapolated.
Yeah, you don't have to read the Call of Cthulhu because it's literally like built into the culture.
Everything is Cthulhu. Yeah. So
everything has a Call of Cthulhu.
I have a list here, Alex, of Lovecraftian tales, right? I will take umbrage. I don't think The Lighthouse and Event Horizon should be on this list. I don't think those are Lovecraftian. Let me run you through some Lovecraftian type movies.
Okay. And
tell me which of them you would rank higher than Re-Animator. So The Mist, we did.
Yeah.
Would you say The Mist beats this?
No.
Color Out of Space, obviously.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't. No.
The Empty Man.
Not better than Re-Animator. Good.
Glorious. By our friend Josh Hull. Pretty awesome.
The movie's glorious?
The movie is glorious, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. The Lovecraftian glory hole, yeah. Pretty great. I wouldn't say it's better than Re-Animator. No, that's no offense. Josh wouldn't take offense. The Void.
Good. Not as good as Re-Animator.
I agree. This is a tough one. In the Mouth of Madness.
I mean...
That one, I think you could make a case to be an emotional level.
That's probably the furthest I've thought it went, you know?
Yeah.
That's the furthest I think it's gotten to being a direct, like, I mean, it is a direct, but like...
Yeah.
Like neck and neck.
I won't list off all of them, but let's see. Dagon, Annihilation, From Beyond, Jacob's Ladder. There are so many movies that have Lovecraftian flavor.
Annihilation is on there?
That is 100% Lovecraftian.
Annihilation is an adaptation of another book.
Well, right. I read the novels, the Southern Reach trilogy. They are very
Southern Reach.
Lovecraftian.
It's a whole other trilogy of books.
Yeah. But again, they're books that are iterations of a Lovecraftian idea. but that's fine.
Sure.
The movie itself, yeah, they went into that weird, like, kind of Blue Man performance group thing. It's
Alex Garland. Just say it's Alex Garland.
Neither here nor there. We're not going to list every Lovecraftian movie. For those of you who are still listening, I think Herbert Weston Re-Animator is the greatest Lovecraftian movie. I think in no small part because I do think Jeffrey Combs gives, for a horror movie monster, a mad scientist, is there any way that Jeffrey Combs' Herbert West is not a top 10 best evil guy in a horror movie performance?
It's the best.
I know
one.
You've got your Robert Englunds. I know we've got our Tony Todds. Brad Dourif is the voice of Chucky.
Yeah, but those
Herbert West, and he's not. All he is a little guy with the syringe too. Yeah. He's not. He doesn't have all the other accoutrements.
Those to me are the easy. Not to say that Tony Todd and Robert Englund aren't iconic. Yeah. But those are iconic looks and great performances, mind you. All Jeffrey Combs has is glasses and a syringe of green fluid, and
just a fount of melodrama. That's all he's doing.
The meal was made.
Dude, the intensity in 10 cities that this guy is bringing to the role is crazy. The scene where him and Dr. Hill, he's in Dr. Hill's class and he just keeps breaking the pencil is still one of the funniest flexes I've ever seen. It's so cunty. And I just can't get over it. I love it. How do you teach this dribble? It's like, dude, aren't you a first-year student? I know you were in Switzerland or whatever. Don't you have 12 credit hours? What? And he just comes in so hot. But Jeffrey Combs makes this movie. And again, I think you can't overstate the value he provides to this movie because he is doing a razor serious, melodramatic, chew the scenery kind of performance. Mm-hmm. Every scene he's in, it is as if he is the prosecution against God himself, right? He is really going at it. This movie, as it gets more madcap, right, as the reanimated begin to appear, as we do the cat reanimated the second time, these kind of things that are inherently just gags, right? They're practical gags. And as much as we love them, there is a level of you kind of laugh and are not taking the stakes of this as seriously, I feel like, when, practical effects happen in a lot of movies.
Right.
Or there's too many, right? It becomes like a gag reel, and it's great, and we love it, but when you have Jeffrey Combs pulling us back, screaming at life itself, I think he is the ingredient that has made this movie the classic it is.
I think that, again, if you don't have makeup or anything ethereal to fall back on, not to say that that's a catch, because Freddy, Candyman, Chucky, Jason, these are all iconic horror, not just because of look.
You could see the silhouette of them on a poster and get it.
Yeah, that's the mythos there. I think what works for Re-Animator is because it's a Lovecraft story. I'm not sure any other Lovecraft. Maybe this is why it's hard to adapt, because In the Mouth of Madness is a different thing, and even that one does a good job of this. But I think that the hamming up of certain elements makes a Lovecraft story a little more palatable, and also reassigns it from being what I'm assuming is some sort of either anti-Semitic or racist intent, because HP was not a fan of anybody other than whites, and it was very uncomfortable.
Yeah. The old gods might have been hiding, but his intentions rarely were.
His intentions were quite obvious.
Yeah, we know who he was actually afraid was awakening.
I think that
it was not good.
I think what's cool about stuff like Re-Animator is you're basically kind of taking back H.P. Lovecraft stories, and you're being like, hey, especially Re-Animator does this better than it does. This is why Re-Animator still's the king for me. And it's better than Mouth of Madness. Is it's so not serious, and because of that, it's such an easy watch because it's not serious, and because of stuff like Jeffrey Combs sitting there breaking pencils or being like, "What are you doing in my room?" Being upset.
The cat got in the trash can and suffocated in a jar, and you're like, "Get the fuck out of here, Herbie!"
Those kinds of things are so goofy and weird. You're just I can't not laugh. Like there's like you can't not just like smirk to yourself because it's not a serious thing. Yeah. Like Robert Englund as a child molester who comes back and haunts children's dreams, serious problem.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is the thing. I think what this one does and what helps it versus some Lovecraft is, again, that unseen, unimaginable, indescribable horror, right, that Lovecraft fell back on, which is great for the imagination, not always is great for a film, right? And especially this is like an 80s, like cocaine-fueled Frankenstein, essentially. This is fun to watch. I think it's the human element that makes this one more engageable than other Lovecraft, right? Because, again, not to belabor the point, but the indescribable horror doesn't always make the best movie. A guy battling life versus death, right? At one point he says, we're doctors. We can defeat death. We can be rich, famous, and live lifetimes. Immediately understand. I don't have to imagine where the tentacles are coming out of. Does it have a face? Does it have abs? Are we talking legs? What's going on? I can imagine just wanting to be a rich and successful doctor. I can imagine not wanting to die. I can imagine wanting to bring my girlfriend and fiance back from the grave. I think that relatability and Herbert West selling the shit out of it makes this one much more engageable and fun than your average Lovecraft story.
I agree. I think that it's just, again, fun. This is a weird way to put it, but I think fun in a Lovecraft story is actually what makes it work. Like, this is fun and really weird and kind of corny and hokey in a lot of ways. So that level, that's the level that's needed, I think.
Yeah, and it is. It's one of those, because I think the movie puts us in this fun place, right? We have great characters, great setup, premise. We get it. Zombies, Frankenstein, we get it. I love the battle of Dr. West versus Dr. Hill, because this is where we really see, right? Dr. Hill is kind of the classic establishment doctor. It seems like maybe he's been plagiarizing and is not as talented as he thinks he is, right? Herbert West is more of this cutting edge, like I want to destroy the pillars of what science and God have deemed possible, and I want to go further, right?
Right.
Their battle is immediately incredible, right? Mm-hmm. And as we watch these two monsters go through the movie, we are left with the big question. Why are they doing this? Why the dogged pursuit, the obsession, the loneliness, the pitifulness of these two men, right? That are trying to win the most important fight, I'm guessing, in medicine history, right? To defeat death and aging and all that. But they're both so sad and they're such losers. It reminds me of a tweet that I saw the other day that said, I knew rich men would rule the world. I didn't realize they'd all be such fucking losers. And that is exactly how I feel about today. And that's exactly how I feel about Dr. West and Dr. Hill, right? But you're like, is it the fame? Is it the fortune? Is it their Hippocratic oath? Like, why do you think these two men are our avatars for this great pursuit?
I mean, I think it's because they're unassuming in a lot of ways. Like, at least I think to us while we're watching the movie, they're not. But if you think about like whoever you are walking through the world, these are two fucking nerds. Like, you're just like, who cares? Like,
Big
you would
old
not
nerds,
mark
dude.
them. You would not mark them. So, like, to me, that's
the
like
only thing I would mark is Dr. Hill on every sex offender list. The way when he does that toast to his colleague's daughter, you're like, God. brother.
Yeah. He'd be the guy you're like, that guy's probably weird. But he'd be the person you'd mark and be like, I'm going to make sure the police keep an eye on him. I'm going to make, like, if he knocks on my door later and goes, hi, I've just moved to the neighborhood and here's my paperwork, and be like, thank you for letting me know.
Yeah, I'd also probably put the dean on the list because, like, I get it. You said he's a grant machine. But I'd also be like, dude, that's my daughter. That's my daughter. Some things have to matter more than getting medical grants.
It's just no good. No good.
Not good. But again, why these two guys, right? You've got your rich establishment doctor, fame, accolade, credits. He wants this thing bad. He gets the jig, right? So we have this great bit where the dean is going to bust these guys, right? He's mad. Mm-hmm. They go down into the morgue, right? They sneak Herbert West in as a dead body, which is great. They're reanimating. And, of course, they picked a Jack new body.
Yeah.
That guy breaks out, starts, causing mayhem. He smashes the dean with the door. He's whooping everyone's ass, bites his fingers off. The dean dies. Herbert West, without missing a beat, is like, he's dead. This is the newest,
This is the
freshest thing
we've had.
Right after, without emotion, he goes, "Pardon, Dan." And he just walks up with a bone saw and takes that dude apart. The cold calculatedness, right? The slippery slope to madness as we watch Dan go, "Yep, you're right. This is the only way. We might as well reanimate, my fiance's dad who hates me." And I'm 100%. There's like a lot of things to unpack here. But that cold calculatedness, right? The dean now is reanimated, but they can't tell what's wrong with him. He seemingly is dead, but we can't tell. Dr. Hill knows. So 2 questions. 1, why do we never see a cop in this movie? I'm assuming it's because this should be the most open and shut case of all time, and we're just not getting there. 2, what did you make of Dr. Hill? He's like, "I know this guy's dead. I know what you did." And instead of fighting for his friend, his colleague, whatever, he just wants the discovery. I think that's a crucial moment in this head-to-head battle.
Well, I mean, again, I think the light of discovery can shine on a lot of people, and I think Dr. Hill, as evidenced by his strange toasts and his misgivings about his students, really likes to take credit where credit's not due.
Yeah. He likes to take a lot of things we see as the movie goes on.
Yeah, I think
not cool.
Not great. I think he's a taker, and that's probably a big part of it. I think that's what's kind of interesting about this is the way the temperature shifts in the movie when, because again, you spend most of the movie with Herbert West, you're like, what a fucking creep. And then as soon as Dr. Hill shows back up on the scene and he's trying to take credit for all this shit, you're like, not good.
Yeah,
but
that's worse. He's worse.
I'm like, somehow this guy's worse, and I bet he's going to get
worse than the guy who had the cat in the fridge.
Yeah, this guy this guy shows back up. This is like Herbert West had a cat in the fridge. Not cool at all.
Can we also point out what's really not cool about that? You couldn't go buy a cat. You had to use your roommate's cat. That's insane. That is the most insane thing that we just brush over in the movie. Stray cats are not hard to find.
You're waiting. I mean, I don't know about you. I was waiting for Herbert West to be like, "Sorry, I'm watching Jedi in my room. You want to come in and check out Return of the Jedi?"
We're going to watch Jedi. He's just got the syringe pointed at Dan. He's like, be cool. We're going to watch Jedi.
We're going to watch Jedi.
Watch Jedi.
It was one of those things, and you're just like, cat in the fridge. Then Dr. Hill shows back up and like, wow, that guy looks normal comparatively. It's a very strange thing, but the movie does such a good job of shifting the temperature that you're like, wait a second. Is this guy who keeps cats in fridges and reanimates dead corpses the good guy?
Well, there's this great bit, and Jeffrey Combs plays the shit out of it, where he's teary-eyed handing over the journal. Because the guy's pretty much like, "I've got you dead to rights. You're going to jail. You're going to be outed, whatever. I'm getting this discovery. Just work with me." Yeah. And he's got these teary eyes as he hands the journal over. And he's watching Dr. Hill be like, brilliant, what you've done to take your, Dr. Gruber or whatever, his research further is incredible. There's a moment in that I think is really telling, which is, because do you think Herbert knows he's going to kill this guy the whole time? It's not even a question, right?
I think it's when he starts looking at, I don't think he knows. I think it's when,
really? Okay.
I think it's when Hill starts looking through the microscope. He's like, yes, brilliant work. And I mean, that's probably, and it's, again, I know that there's a prop involved and that's where it happens, but I think that is because you can, West is clearly a bit of a punk. He's snapping pensies and stuff like that in class. He just wants to be a douche. But he was fine up to that point. I think when he sees someone looking at his stuff, he's like that unlocks. He's like, you know what? I'm going to let him look at this shit. And I'm like, but this is it.
See, I picked that up because I was like, I think he wants Hill to read the journal. He wants Hill to know, because Hill might be the only other person that can truly appreciate him and understand this godlike feat he's done.
I think
I think they're so similar. He wants him to see it and know, but then also wants to kill him because there can be only one God.
Yeah,
right?
They're both insane. They're going to have to Highlander each other for sure. Like, it's a very specific thing.
Yeah, so I think weirdly he's excited to hand him that journal. Mm-hmm. And then I think you see when he decapitates him and he puts his head on the little paper sticky thing, it's like, yeah, there's a disrespect level. He wanted to do this. He was happy to do this.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think watching these two men, these two versions of God, just battle each other, and then you go, you know what? I think they both suck a lot.
Yeah,
like I think they're both
terrible.
really bad guys. Because we see Hill becomes an absolute monstrous form. Mm-hmm. He takes control over other dead bodies, right? His is more of a control thing. Herbert West is he's more of the, God will never give me a boundary.
Right.
So he's more of like a Judas Priest breaking the law kind of thing. But I think their interplay, again, it's one of those things. This movie could have devolved so simply into just the gags. But these two titanic performances in the middle of this movie. And again, I think Dan is great. I think Barbara Crampton's great. These two, I mean, this is the classic stuff of horror.
Well, I think what's interesting about not just the performances, but just, again, because I think a lot, when I was watching it, I thought a lot about From Beyond. Because From Beyond is one of the first pods we ever did. And another H.P. Lovecraft story. But From Beyond has the same thing where you have these two people who are interested in the same research. Mm-hmm. Who are basically playing God, trying to be a God, but who's the better God? Like, I think this is like, and it's not like who's the better God.
Not the one that turns into a giant sentient nutsack.
Yeah. It's not who's the better God in terms of like, who's more benevolent, which is normally the conversation we have in these kinds of movies. There's no benevolence. This is who's the most powerful, period.
By the end of that movie, it's literally like, do you want dick or scrote? Pick your poison. That's the battle of that movie.
What's your fever? Like, that's really what it is. And I think for Re-Animator, it boils down to what's interesting is in Re-Animator, because in that one, Jeffrey, like From Beyond, Jeffrey Combs is like completely off the rails with the.
He's also a kind of nice, like, brought into this against. He's not as resolute as Herbert West in causing the mayhem.
Herbert West very specifically, like, wants the credit, needs the credit, is the credit. He did all this work. He did the research. He made like improved upon Gruber. I think what's interesting is he becomes this sort of like tragic hero at the end in the weirdest way, by the way. Mm. But it ends up being this thing where because someone else is trying, like, this is like, it's not even about power at that point. And like, that's what From Beyond is completely about. Mm-hmm. I think what's fascinating about Herbert is that Herbert doesn't even see the fault in his stars. He just sees like he needs to save another doctor. Like, it's like a momentary thought of selflessness. It's like takes 5 seconds, and that's how it goes.
It's hard with him because I think you can't assign any action he has in the movie to kindness. Like, even Dan, when he's like, you're capable and smart and hardworking, and he's like, and you have access to facilities. And it's like, yeah, you're kind of always running the equation. Like, it is interesting, too, the people that, under the guise of we will save humans from death, are the least human in the movie. Like, they have no sympathy, no emotion. And it turns it into where, like, yes, they can reanimate flesh, but it's not shocking that everyone reanimated doesn't seem to have a soul or emotions, because these guys don't. The gods that are creating them in this image don't have those things. They're not important, right? It's this this kind of abomination version of the giving life mission. Yeah. Okay, so let's walk through this. This movie has incredible gags. Yeah. Incredible effects work. Let's go through some of our favorites. The second reanimation of the cat, I've always loved, where he's just like, why is it making that sound? And it's like, well, look at it, dude. It's spaghetti. Yeah. It's like, that's gross.
Give him a break.
But I thought that was cool. Even the movie opening with Dr. Gruber's head melting into that ripping psycho-style sound or score, you're like, okay, hell yeah. Hell yeah. You know immediately what you're in. What are some of your favorite gags in this movie?
Full-blown psycho rip, by the way.
Yeah.
I love... Okay, so there's obviously... We won't talk about the most messed up moment.
We'll talk about the most messed up moment. Easiest decision ever.
But the one that... the one that I love the afterwards is when Hill's body like erupts and the huge intestine comes out.
Yeah, because for some reason, again, Herbert West, under the guise of saving someone, just goes, overdose! Like he's doing like body shots in fucking Panama City Beach. And he runs up and just double stabs his core. And you're like, dude, this is no time for an experiment.
He's like a bartender at Senior Frogs. It was like, what is going on? And then he overdoses.
Who wants an apple pucker shot? Pull a tit out.
Overdoses Hill's body. And it erupts with this giant rope intestine and drags him to God knows where. I don't even know. Like, but just like the chest like sputtering open is so cool.
So cool.
And then I really do love I do love watching Hill's head get like compressed.
Oh, dude, where he's squishing him and all the zombies like
I don't know what that is. Like I don't get like, especially that kind of stuff. Like I get queasy a lot, but like crushing a skull to me is like one of those like, Jesus Christ.
You know what's cool about that one too is that it's pretty slow.
Yeah.
Like it's a slow crush where like it's already oozing. It's not like a, like we did Death Proof, right? The axe kick where it immediately busts apart. Like it's a slow crunch.
It's not like a Game of Thrones crush. It's like a
yeah.
It's like popping a pimple. It's like popping a pimple rather than like squishing a grape.
Yeah, you know what other bit I loved in this too? Speaking of Dr. Hill's body, I love when he tries to get back in the morgue and he's carrying his head in like a bowling ball bag.
Dude,
and he has the mannequin example head.
The mannequin.
And he's just kind of like walking around the security guards. Hey, what's up? He's like, hi, I'm here to do science. And it's like, yeah, dude. That's what I mean. This movie.
That was the best. It
gets the kind of melodramatic big stakes, right? The Frankenstein stakes really well. Great performances that sell this kind of operatic battle between these monsters. This movie is so unserious, though. And the ability to marry those two, these kind of horrifying, fun images with this, oh my God, are these zombies? Like, would I want to reanimate people? With, again, just the most unserious decisions in movies. Mm-hmm. I love it. That's the blend that Stuart Gordon was always the master of.
Yeah.
Is fun and zany unseriousness in some of the darkest setups you could imagine.
I'd say like Re-Animator's good for this like unserious thing. Like again, the fun is what I was saying. I think, and then he goes to From Beyond, and From Beyond is more like sex and this grossness, and you're just like, all right, like it's just like a switch flip. Like it's like, do you want to do sexy or do you want to do funny? And like he chose funny for Re-Animator and sexy for From Beyond. Like you're just like,
From Beyond is still pretty fucking funny, dude. Bubba in that movie running around in his Speedos, amazing.
It is truly hilarious. It's just one of those things where you're just like,
the dials are shifted a bit.
Yeah, like it's just I love how entertaining Re-Animator. The bowling ball gag truly is like, you're just one of those who's like, this is someone who's making a movie knowing full well the brand. Like he knows the audience. Like he knows people like us are going to show up and watch the movie and be like, I appreciate this.
Yeah, and in that moment, right, where Dr. Hill's like, you've made a mistake coming here to challenge me.
Yeah.
And then all the zombie bodies shoot up.
Awesome.
It's like, it's scary. It's metal. Then Herbert West is kind of dodging with just a syringe as a weapon. You're like, that's absurd. It's just, it's great. Like, it's just a movie that hits on every metric you need it to.
Oh, the other one that I like? Because again, like for a movie that doesn't have a lot of fight choreography, this is like my favorite moment was when he tries to take the first time he tries to stab and like overdose Dr. Hill. The hand that holds up the head, like looking behind him.
Yeah, he's like, ah! All right. Eyes in the back of my head, indeed. Yeah, and also I'm like, why did you back up? He can see you. He can't do like Malignant style reverse karate.
Again,
stab his ass. What are you doing?
That shit is funny.
Yeah. Also, the idea of just like you can overdose that as a weapon is bizarre. Neither here nor there. All right, we've danced around it long enough.
Come on, let's just go.
Alex, what's the most messed up moment in Re-Animator?
I mean, for those of you who have not seen it, which would be weird if you've gotten this far to the pod, Barbara Crampton naked on a slab and Dr. Hill deciding to sample her. How about we put it that way?
Yes. So here's the setup is even creepier than that because
It's terrible.
He has used his heat laser he's invented to lobotomize her undead father to make him go capture his own daughter, bring her to the slab, and like she's nothing, rip her shirt and clothes off.
Mm-hmm.
And then we watch Dr. Hill, who's just in the fucking pan with a pool of blood going, it's so vile, the face he's making. And then has his own body pick his own severed head up and kind of go up and down her body sampling. It is one of those images that horror fans have always like, as soon as you say Re-Animator, everyone's eyebrows go up and they're like, that's the moment. That's the one we all remember. It is vile and repulsive.
It is disgusting.
And wildly memorable.
And highly memorable. Very messed up.
That's most messed up moment. I think that's the easiest Grand Slam pick we've ever had for that category.
That's so far in the history of this show, that is the easiest messed up moment. There's no debate. Like, that is the most messed up moment in the entire movie.
Yeah, it's like that and Red Rooms were the two, like, yep, that's easy. We know exactly what we're doing.
Got it. No problem.
I will say, to go from moments like that, though, to bring this home, the moment at the end with Dan, right? And what's her name? Barbara Crampton's
Barbara
character.
Crampton?
Anywho. Yeah, because I keep calling Dan the character and then Barbara Crampton the actress.
Everyone knows who Barbara Crampton is.
But I love at the start when he's trying to like pump the chest and the lady's like, you've done too much. They're gone. Your optimism is great, but stop. I like that setup for him, right? This doctor who wants to help, right? He's there. He's a hardworking guy. He's getting through school. He's brought into this kind of evil slippery slope scenario by Herbert West because he really wants to save lives. Okay, cool. At the end, when they pair that beat from the opening and he's pumping on Barbara Crampton, right? Not like Dr. Hill was, but like legitimately life-saving.
Yeah.
And he's pumping. And they're like, it's too late. She's gone. And you watch him start to make that choice.
Yeah, dude.
And you watch him now grab the syringe. He is taking the syringe instead of Herbert. He's taking it now.
Yeah.
And he injects her. And then as the credits start and the screen goes black, we hear Barbara Crampton, not Scrampton, Barbara Crampton scream.
Yeah.
It is such a beautiful, perfect book into this. Because
So
again,
awesome.
we've seen all the madcap imagery, right? That's a moment where it sells the true horror. Is a good man and a good woman destroyed by this pursuit of science that now see it as their only way out, right? Pet Sematary does this a lot. Just a nice guy who's like, why should I lose my kid? Why does God get to make that choice? I'll take it back, and then keep making that choice over and over again, and it's really bad, right? That's what is happening to Dan at the end of this. And again, it's a perfect emotional bow to tie on this fucking insane movie. And I think there's no element that's missing in the magical potion of the film. And I think that's what separates it from the sequel. That's what makes it probably the greatest Stuart Gordon movie. I think that's what makes it the best Lovecraft movie. Is it just finds the right choice, even though so many of the choices feel like they should not be in the same movie.
Right. I mean, I don't know. It's Re-Animator. Like, I think this is the thing that's most impressive about it, is I don't have to say anything other than it's Re-Animator. Like, and again, you go through,
right.
You see Bride of Re-Animator, Beyond Re-Animator, like there are these other two movies, but like, all you have to say is Re-Animator. You say Re-Animator and everyone fucking knows. Like,
they know.
Like, goofy, weird, depraved, sort of kind of gross.
You see Jeffrey Combs, you laugh, you think of the head scene, you hear the song. It's a vibe. It's a total vibe.
It's a thing. That's it. That's all you got.
That's it for Re-Animator. That's it for the Be Still My Heart curation. I hope you've enjoyed our month of Amour. Wonderful stuff. We'll be back next month for some March Madness. Great lineup for that as well. Make sure you go to the Messed Up Movies Podcast Patreon. Fun exclusive episodes over there that you can vote on. Tales from the Crypt, Black Mirror miniseries, all kinds of fun stuff over there. We'd love to have you join our community. Please help us out with that. Go to MisfitParade.com. Subscribe over there. Subscribe to the Misfit Parade YouTube. Follow us on all the socials for shorts, clips, content, all that good stuff. Make sure you're leaving 5-star ratings and reviews. More than anything, thanks for the time, guys.